Namaste, Mr. Arun Dio. My name is Srinivas. I am from Janagraha. We'll just start in a few minutes when it's 11.
Arunji, you're on mute. Yeah.
Namaste, Raisji. Arunji, namaskar.
Namaskar.
I am Dr. Mercy Samuel from Ahmedabad. I teach in a university called CEPT University.
I am basically a political activist.
Good. We need more
Great
of
to
those people.
have you here, sir. Great.
Yes.
How about Mr. Imran? Tarun, is Mr. Imran joining?
He's here.
I don't see him yet.
Yeah, he was here just a while back. I just call him, double check again. Yeah.
Dr. Mercy, you know Mr. Imran well, is it?
Yeah, I know.
You had interaction with Mr. Rice also in the past?
No. You are on mute.
Rice, sahab, you are on mute.
Yeah, I was saying this is the first time we're all connecting actually.
Yeah. Probably met Mr. Okay. Mr. Arun, you probably have come across in the past?
No. I'm meeting all of them for the first time.
Okay.
This digital media and webinars now are making the world a smaller place now. So you can.
No, it's amazing, right? It's amazing how can people in Bangalore and in Chennai can talk to MLAs in Mumbai. This is beautiful. This cannot happen otherwise.
Yeah. Very difficult to make it happen otherwise.
Yeah, this. We have been doing this for quite some time now, and I think more than any topic content, just the fact that you connect with people that are in the same kind of sphere of work is just so.
True.
Right? It makes you feel connected in the larger scheme of things. Otherwise, we only read newspapers and bites on social media.
And it is very good for students also. They get to know so many things by the location rigidity gets away.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't even need to get dressed properly to watch any of this. Hello, Madam Rajalakshmi Garu. Namaste.
Namaste, MD. Yeah.
Namaste, Rajalakshmi Madam.
Hello, everybody. Yes.
Madam is from Hyderabad, Mr. Rice and Arun Saab. Rajalakshmi Madam recently won on BJP ticket in GHMC elections. She is yet to take her oath. The elections happened long time back, but there is some procedural delays, I think. But I was talking to her yesterday, and
I think there must be a fixed date. They will take the oath.
February, February, right? Yeah, it's coming up. Yeah, so
February 10th, 11th, I guess. Yeah.
He's already operating like a corporator from all the activities.
Yes. Those people, right?
So we'll talk about all that. Tarun, we can start as soon as Mr. Imran is here.
Yes, I just contacted his personal secretary and he's joining. Yeah. So I think we can start. He will join in a while. So
I think we can start. Yeah. In the interest of time and of everyone. So we want to end this by 12:15. I know some of you are busy and you have other meetings to go to, so we won't keep you long. We'll try to run it per schedule and keep it sharp by 12:15. We try to close, and we want to give time to the audience also. So let's move it fast. So we having run a few events, we kind of got a sense of what takes time and what can be done better. So I think you should start now, Sandhya.
Hello, my name is Sandhya D'Souza and I am from Janagraha. A very good morning to all of you present here today and welcome to our 8th City Politics webinar. City Politics is an initiative by Janagraha Center of Citizenship and Democracy, a non-profit NGO that works on transforming urban India by enabling citizen participation. Through City Politics, we aim to redefine what politics should ideally mean for our cities. In our efforts, we don't want to look at politics from the conventional lens of party politics, but politics anything that affects our quality of life. City politics is about garbage, water, footpaths. City politics is about building bridges between people and politicians. Hence, with the City Politics conversations, we hope to connect and create a thriving community of people passionate about urban politics, policies, concerns, and reforms. In today's City Politics webinar, we will try to find the answer to the question, are elected representatives able to do what they are supposed to do? This question and many other queries emerged from the data collected as part of the recent study concluded by the Janagraha Brown Citizenship Index project. The Janagraha Brown Citizen Index project is a research partnership between Janagraha and the Brown University. Through this project, we are gathering systematic data on the relationship between citizenship and the delivery of public services, as well as how citizens engage the state in cities across India. It is currently one of the biggest urban governance research projects in the country. The household data has already been collected in 10 cities, and we are aiming to complete the field survey in 7 more cities by the end of this year. Sharing their insights and experiences and answering our queries today are our 5 eminent panelists. I have the honor of introducing Mr. Imran Kedawala, Member of Legislative Assembly Gujarat from the Jamalpur Khadia constituency, Ahmedabad. Mr. Kedawala contested on the ticket from Indian National Congress and served as a corporator of the Jamalpur ward in Ahmedabad, Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation, before getting elected as an MLA. A hardworking, popular leader amongst his constituents, he won the corporation election as an independent candidate. Mr. Kedawala is known for his warm nature and dedication towards the people of his constituency. A warm welcome to you, dear sir. It is my pleasure to introduce Ms. Kyanam Rajalakshmi, Councillor, Vinayakanagara Ward, Hyderabad. Ms. Rajalakshmi emerged as a winner in one of the most interesting, anticipated, and media-charged local elections in recent times. She also holds a senior administrative position of the BJP's district secretary for the Medchal district and is the Lions New Voices coordinator. A very warm welcome to you, dear madam.
Thank you so much.
We are pleased to have the presence of ex-deputy mayor of Mumbai, Mr. Arun Dio, a veteran politician from Mumbai, working on the grassroots for the last 40 years, representing the Bharatiya Janata Party. Mr. Dio has been elected twice as a councillor from the constituencies in Juhu and Santa Cruz for the period 1997 to 2007, during which he also served as the deputy mayor of Mumbai. He has been the member of various committees in Mumbai, including the MMRDA committee, standing committee, and BEST committee. He is also the national convener of BJP's slum cell. We are honored with your esteemed presence, dear sir.
Thanks.
We have with us Dr. Mercy Sambil, one of the most recognized faces when it comes to research in the domains of public policy, urban governance, and management. She is working as the Associate Professor at the Faculty of Management, CEPT University, Ahmedabad. She has more than 15 years of research experience and exposes her students to real-life issues of urban governance. She is trained in public policy from the prestigious Harvard Kennedy School of Public Policy, USA. A very warm welcome to you, dear madam. It is my pleasure to introduce one of the most dynamic politicians of Mumbai, Mr. Raees Sheikh, MLA of Bhiwandi East constituency. Before becoming an MLA, Mr. Raees Sheikh has served as a municipal councillor in Mumbai. He won the BMC elections twice from Govandi in 2012 and Nagpada in 2017. Mr. Sheikh was also amongst the top 10 corporators in Mumbai as per a survey by Mumbai Mirror. Mr. Raees Sheikh started his career as a teacher and realized public service in politics is his calling. He demanded salary for corporators. In the true sense, Mr. Sheikh is a popular leader with his ground action and commitment to upliftment of weaker sections of the society. We look forward to hearing from you, dear sir.
Thank you very much.
Before we move on, I will run you through the agenda. Rishwa, can you please present the agenda? So after the introduction, we will be having a 10-minute presentation on the Janagraha Brown Citizenship Index findings that will be presented by Mr. Tarun Arora, Project Manager, Research and Insights at Janagraha. Followed by this is the panel discussion on the topic of today: are elected representatives able to do what they are supposed to do? With our esteemed guests today. This will be presented by Mr. Srinivas, moderated by Mr. Srinivas Alavalli and Mr. Tarun Arora. The floor will be then open for the audience queries. We hope to make this session an interactive one. I now request Mr. Srinivas Alavalli to start the proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandhya, for that wonderful introduction. We are really lucky to have the presence of so many amazing people, literally from all parts of India. We are in Janagraha, based in Bangalore, but many of our folks are from different parts of. Everyone you see in this screen, all the little windows are from different parts of India. And as we were talking before the event formally began, it's the pandemic and the online webinars have brought us closer in a very new and refreshing way. And we hope to make use of every minute of this next hour or so to get some insight into urban politics, city politics. And I must add something to what Sandhya said about city politics. Politics in India, unfortunately, has got a bad name. People look at politics as something that is not clean, that is corrupt, that is this, that is that, all kinds of things associated with it, except the original meaning of politics, which is the method for large scale public service, reconciling differences among people and coming up with consensus that works with everyone. In fact, the set of people that we have today, all of them work in that fashion. And that's the reason why we look forward to organizing this particular city politics event with all of you, sir. We were inspired by your work, your experience, and we hope that all the young people that are participating today will get to hear from you, talk to you, and learn something from this interaction. Janagraha and Brown University have been organizing conducting some research to better understand the relationship between citizens and politicians, to understand what citizenship means. Before we get into the panel discussion, I will ask my colleague Tarun, who is part of the research team at Janagraha, to take 10 minutes, and 10 minutes means 10 minutes, Tarun. So give the key highlights. It's a very, very interesting, exciting report. We will send it to share it with everyone. It has already been written about in the press, but for to set up this particular panel discussion, we thought that it will be really useful to have a glimpse of that. So I'll ask Tarun to present that in 10 minutes. After that, we will enter into the panel discussion.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Srinivas. Let me just quickly jump to the presentation now. I hope everybody can see the screen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So a very warm welcome to everyone, or to our esteemed panelists and all the participants. And let me just quickly move to my presentation. So what I'll quickly do is I will first of all introduce the Jana Brown Citizenship Index project, and then I'll show you some very few data points that I've collected from the survey that we had conducted in the last 7 cities, and which will sort of set the context for the panel discussion that we have today. Right. So the JBCI project, right, it was conceived way back in 2012 it was a collaboration between scholars and practitioners, scholars being the Brown University that we have, and the practitioners, the people at Janagraha, right? And believe you me, this is one of the biggest urban governance research projects in the country right now. There are 3 key objectives to this. When we say we are measuring citizenship, we're not measuring the nationality, we're measuring how citizens practice citizenship, right? So we have 3 different parameters of that. One is knowledge, second is participation, and third is engagement. By knowledge, we just want to see and learn from the cities that how many citizens are aware, like do they know which ward they live in? Do they know the name of their ward corporator? Do they know the civic agency name if they face electricity issue, right? And then we have a parameter called participation. The participation is about civic participation, political participation, which is about voting, and also, you know, participating in between elections, right? In India, participation also means that what do you do between election, not just about voting. And third one is about engagement. Engagement is about when you engage with the state, how seamlessly you are able to do that. Do you have to pay a bribe to get your services resolved and all that? So combining these 3 parameters, we come up with an indicator called Citizenship Index. The second objective is about creating the Basic Services Index, which is about measuring the quality of water, electricity, sanitation, and roads. And finally, we want to measure or want to understand the relationship between the two. A very simple hypothesis that we have is that the areas where the quality of citizenship is high, they're also able to get better services from the state. Just to give you an idea of the scale of the study, we started way back in 2014. The first survey that we did was in Bangalore. Then we moved to Shimoga and Mysuru. There were another 2 cities that we surveyed in Karnataka. In 2018-19, we finished 7 cities for which we surveyed. The data has already been collected, and the findings are actually based on that survey. It was done with Mumbai, Ahmedabad, Vadodara, Bhavnagar, Kochi, Chennai, and Hyderabad. And now this year, by end of this year, we're going to move to another set of 7 cities. So because of the large sample size that we have for each city, The survey responses that we have are going to be representative of the entire city.
Arun, if I may interrupt you, could you
Yeah.
please put it in the full screen mode? People are not able to read the text.
Yeah, all right. Is it better? Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
much better.
So the duration of each household survey was about 45 to 50 minutes, and we collected responses from citizens across different socioeconomic backgrounds, so that the data is actually representative of the city. So let me just quickly jump to the first theme of my presentation, which is about access to identity cards. Okay. So what I'm presenting here is simply a comparison of how much access do people have to the most common two identity cards. One is an Aadhaar card and a voter card. And also what I'm comparing here is people who live in slum areas and people who live in upper class housing, right? So what you can see here in Mumbai, right? Or not in Mumbai, like across all the cities, you can see the people who live in slums and shacks, they have substantially lower access to these two identity cards. For example, in Mumbai, 22% people do not have access to voter cards, right? Who live in slums, right? This is just 0% for people who live in urban class housing, right? And this is the case across all the cities, with Mumbai for Aadhaar card being only the exception. When it comes to caste certificates, Kochi is a clear outlier, right? But after Kochi, it is Mumbai, where about 51% of the ST citizens do not have access to a caste certificate, followed by Ahmedabad. About 52% people who live in Ahmedabad do not have access to a caste certificate, right? When it comes to access to BPL cards, the numbers are even more mind-boggling, right? For Mumbai, about 90% people who live in informal settlements in slums, they don't have access to a BPL card, right? For example, the same numbers for Ahmedabad, like about 70% of them do not have access to a BPL card, right? Now, this brings me to a very interesting theme, which is we actually ask the citizens, those who have access to caste certificates, those who have access to BPL cards, how many of them have got them through the help of corporators, right? I mean, my anticipation was that the numbers would be something around 3 to 5%. But when I saw the results, it told us a completely different story. 70% people who live in slums in Mumbai have actually got these cards through the help of their local corporator, right? In Hyderabad, 1 in every 3 individuals have got their cards using the help of their local corporator. In Ahmedabad, 1 in every 5 individuals have got these cards through the help of the local corporator. The picture is no different when it comes to caste certificates as well. Again, in Mumbai, about 50% of the people people who are living in slums or better class category housing, they have got their caste certificates through approaching a local corporator, right? In Hyderabad, those who live in middle class and upper class housing, about 50% again, they have approached their local corporator to get these cards, the caste certificates. Whereas in Ahmedabad, right? In Ahmedabad, 1 in 5 individuals have got their caste certificates through a local corporator, right? So what I'm trying to bring your attention to here is a very simple fact that a lot of these citizens are actually approaching their local corporators to get these basic services, like these basic identity cards, right? And we all know that there's a lot of other functions that corporators are supposed to take care of, right? And we also saw in our survey that the corporators are being approached for very, very basic needs, like for electricity issues, for water supply issues, and for sanitation issues as well, right? So we know that the corporators are busy. They have multiple other roles and responsibilities to take care of as well, right? And this brings me to the final theme, which is about we ask our citizens, who according to you, we ran a very simple poll and we asked them who according to them is the most important person to ensure basic services. Very simple question. And the results were again fascinating. In 4 out of 7 cities, people said it is the corporator who is the most important person to get us those basic services. If we just compare between corporator, MLA, and MP, all the cities across the board have said corporator is the most important person, right? As I said, the corporate is already entangled with a lot of responsibilities. On top of that, the corporator is dealing with a lot of individual citizen basic requests for ID cards, for caste certificates, for BPL cards, and also other services, right? This brings me to a very, very important question that, that the corporate is part of a council, which is also have multiple functions and domains, right? And this brings to a very important question. Are elected representatives, especially corporators, really able to do what they're supposed to do? Because they are swarmed with citizens, with individual requests and individual complaints for other things, right? And I would request Srinivas to please take over and moderate this session. Thank you so much.
Great. So let's begin with the first question of the day to our panelists. And as the research has shown, and we also know intuitively from our own daily experiences in various cities that we live in, that the people really depend on corporators to get many of the things that they want from the government. And they don't look at it as this is the municipal corporation's job, this is the state government, this is central government. They don't think of it like that. Since the corporators are the closest elected representatives, people tend to approach them for all kinds of issues that they have. And as the survey showed, there is also intermediaries. Intermediaries can be somebody in the street, a responsible senior citizen or an active social worker, or somebody who understands how these things work, they approach them. And it's also a bit of a, conflict, because there is also surveys that show that a lot of people in big cities, and this is a big city phenomena, are not aware of who is their corporator and what is the function of the municipality. We'll come to that later. But I would like to throw this open to all of you in this panel. What do you think about this? You've been corporators. Other than Dr. Mercy, every one of you have been a corporator. One of you is becoming a corporator, just new. So as a municipal corporator, the corporation's job is to manage the solid waste management, parks, upkeep of the roads, water, electricity, many basic necessities like that. But people seem to be approaching you for many other things, all kinds of issues that they have to deal with, including school admissions and caste certificates and ID certificates and so on. So how are you able to reconcile this? Do you think this is natural? This is healthy? And if a lot of your time is going into this, then how can we address this? So your thoughts on this. I will start with Mr. Rais Sheikh and then come to others. Sir, you can go ahead.
Mr. Rais, you have to unmute yourself.
Unmuted. Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to tell you that my current position is as a councillor as well as an MLA. So I'm doing both jobs. The question is why people approach the local councillor for their basic documentation requirement or almost everything. See, a councillor actually servicing a area of about 40,000 to 50,000 people. And the government has made it very mandatory for the councillor to certify address or give an identity proof. So that's how you see that a lot of people data that is reflected, that we help people make their voter IDs, their Aadhaar card and all this. But it depends on the local councillor, how he is functioning. See, the basic duty of a councillor obviously are providing basic civic services. But then your interaction with the people, the involvement with the people, your accessibility to the people, all this determines how you expand your role. A municipal councillor is the first point of contact because the area is a little smaller than the MLA. Now in Bhiwandi, where I'm an MLA, I still continue to do the duties of providing Aadhaar card and basic other things. But then I have been able to explain to the people that my job is also to do a holistic planning for the entire city. So yes, your point of view may be that once I'm doing as a councillor, if I'm involving myself in providing documentation, means I have less time for civic services. No, councillors in Mumbai, especially, I would say, they work round the clock. They are there available, and they try to balance both. The civic services as well as their role as someone who provides guidance as far as documentation is concerned.
How much percentage of your time you think goes into the civic services versus non-civic, if you have to estimate it?
I think my personal time, 80% of it goes to in providing civic services. We have staff in our offices which basically does all this routine works of providing identity proofs or guiding people as to how to get the Aadhaar card or election card or ration card or caste certificate. Now, in my constituency, I come from an OBC constituency where the OBC population is very large. So, of course, getting the EWS certificate or the caste certificate is very important. So, of course, we have an entire team of people who do all that. But my job, basically, if you come to my constituency in Mumbai, mostly I concentrate on providing better roads, parks, schools. I have revamped the schools. So primary education is the duty of the civic body. So a lot of time.
Primary healthcare, both healthcare and
primary healthcare. Primary now COVID, of course, maximum time went with healthcare issues.
Wonderful. So
it's an 80-20 formula.
80-20, you think. So I'll come back to you. Tarun, if I may ask you to take off the slide. So let's focus on the speakers. So Arunji, I'll come to you as a fellow corporator, elected representative from Mumbai. You have had enormous experience working in this. So have things changed in what Mr. Rice was saying from your time to now as a deputy mayor? Have you noticed that people have more awareness of the function of a corporator? Everybody seems to know MP, MLA because that's very commonly held. But corporator, is that something that people are discovering more now? Or, was it always there? Or just your thoughts on the role of the corporator and the question on the table?
कॉर्पोरेटर का जो रोल है ना वो पहले से बड़ा है. ऐसा नहीं कि आज एमएलए एमपी वगैरह, बिकॉज मल्टीपल जो ड्यूटीज है. आई कैन गिव यू वन स्मॉल स्टोरी. I was elected from Juhu Vile Parle scheme. There is a affluent class, rich class, and slums. Nehru Nagar Jhopadpatti, Khadda Jhopadpatti, North. 97-98 में विशाखा राउत was a mayor. और उस समय आजादी के 50 साल पूरे हुए थे. तो देश में ग्राम पंचायत से लेकर नगर पालिका, महानगर पालिका, विधानसभा, लोकसभा एक दिन के रात को सेशन रखे. और एक दिन के रात के सेशन में हमने कोई ना कोई बात का निर्णय किया कि हम क्या करें. तो उस दिन विशाखा राउत मेयर थी. उन्होंने ये तय किया कि हम पूरी सिटी को क्लीन करेंगे वन डे. एक दिन जीरो गार्बेज पूरे मुंबई में होगा और सबको पानी दिया जाएगा. दैट वाज द स्लोगन ऑफ विशाखा राउत. इसके कारण वो सब काउंसिलर्स की मुंबई शहर की जिम्मेदारी हो गई. अभी जिस कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी में मैं रिप्रेजेंट कर रहा हूँ, वहाँ 50% वोटर्स ऐसे हैं उनको एक्सेस ही नहीं है, क्योंकि एयरपोर्ट की एनओसी नहीं है. एयरपोर्ट तक जब तक एनओसी नहीं देगी तब तक वहाँ टॉयलेट बनाए नहीं जा सकते. वी कैन हैव अनऑथराइज्ड टॉयलेट्स. उस समय एक एडिशनल कमिश्नर थे रत्नाकर गायकवाड़. उनको मैंने कहा कि हमने स्लोगन तो किया, हमने लोगों को तो कहा, हमने लोगों को आश्वासन तो दिया, लेकिन एक दिन मैं रिक्वेस्ट करता हूँ मेयर को और आपको, क्योंकि सॉलिड वेस्ट के भी इंचार्ज वही थे, हमारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी में. तो देखने के बाद उनको लगा कि 50 साल के बाद, आजादी के 50 साल हो गए थे हमारे, लेकिन वहाँ टॉयलेट्स नहीं थे. तो हमने फिर स्पेशल एफर्ट बनाकर लोगों को अवेयरनेस था. लेकिन इसके लिए मुझे क्या लगता है कि ये जो बड़े शहरों में मल्टीपल एजेंसीज है, प्लानिंग अथॉरिटी, एयरपोर्ट है, कॉरपोरेशन है, रेलवे है, और लोग तो जहां जगह मिली वहां रह गए. और हमारी ड्यूटी ऐसे है कि उनके पास इलेक्शन कार्ड है, वो वोट करते हैं, तो मैक्सिमम सुविधा कैसे दे. तो मुझे लगता है कि लोगों को ये अवेयरनेस है. उस समय एक टॉयलेट बनाते समय वी हैव टू टेक हेल्प ऑफ पुलिस, वी हैव टू टेक हेल्प ऑफ बीएमसी एम्प्लॉय. क्योंकि जहां हमने नारियल फोड़ा कि यहाँ टॉयलेट बांधेंगे, दूसरे दिन लोगों ने, जो एंटी स्क्रूपुलस एलिमेंट है, उन्होंने बहुत बड़ा गोडाउन खोल दिया वहाँ.
Okay. So there's too many cooks and very few people that actually make it happen. Right?
आज भी प्रॉब्लम्स है, लेकिन प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्यूशन भी है. और डेमोक्रेसी में मुझे लगता है इसी प्रकार से सॉल्यूशंस अवेलेबल हो सकते हैं.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mr. Imran, I would like to bring you in. Ahmedabad is known to have more autonomy for the municipal corporation than, say, other cities, including Bangalore. As you know, we just heard about certain other cities. What has been your experience in terms of playing the role of a corporator? And I know that you are now the MLA, but just recently you've also been the corporator. So are you allowed to function like a corporator, or you think that, why am I spending my time on all these other things when I could be doing so much better? Your thoughts on that, sir?
आज के इस प्रोग्राम में जनाग्रह के अंदर मैं सभी का स्वागत करता हूं। मैं इमरान खेड़ावाला अहमदाबाद जमालपुर विस्तार से म्युनिसिपल काउंसिलर हूं और जमालपुर खाड़िया यहां से मैं विधायक हूं। आज के इस प्रोग्राम में जुड़े हुए तमाम मेहमानों का भी मैं स्वागत करता हूं। मैं यहाँ 2001 से आज तक 4 टर्म से म्युनिसिपल काउंसिलर हूँ और 2017 में मुझे एमएलए का टिकट दिया और मैं आज एमएलए भी हूँ और म्युनिसिपल काउंसिलर भी हूँ। खास करके आज के जनाग्रह के प्रोग्राम में जो सब्जेक्ट है उसके ऊपर खास करके कॉरपोरेटर क्या काम कर सकते हैं, एमएलए क्या काम कर सकते हैं, ऑफिसर्स उनका काम कैसे करते हैं, पब्लिक से रिलेटेड जो काम होते हैं पब्लिक के, वो पब्लिक के काम होते कि नहीं है, इस पे सब चर्चा का सब्जेक्ट शायद मैं उस पर बात करूंगा। खास करके अहमदाबाद की मैं बात करूं कि अहमदाबाद के अंदर यहाँ पर जहाँ लोगों की जो समस्याएं खास कर जो विस्तार से मैं अहमदाबाद के अंदर जो जहाँ से मैं आता हूँ, ये ओल्ड सिटी अहमदाबाद है, पुराना सिटी है और यहाँ समझो बरसों से जो एक ही समस्या है कि यहाँ जो गली पुल मोहल्ले और जो पुरानी सब विरासत है ये सब जमालपुर खाड़िया विधानसभा के अंदर आती है। यहाँ पर जो लोग हैं, जहाँ से लोगों की जो समस्याएं हैं, खास करके यहाँ ओल्ड सिटी होने के हिसाब से यहाँ ड्रेनेज का प्रॉब्लम, पानी का प्रॉब्लम, पॉल्यूशन का गंदे पानी की फरियादें, ये सबसे ज़्यादा रोज हमको कम से कम 200 से 300 फरियादें रोज मिलती होती है अलग अलग जगह से। कॉरपोरेशन के कॉरपोरेटर और एमएलए की हैसियत से मैं ऑफिसर के साथ बातचीत करके वो मेरे पास जो फरियाद आती है वो सब मैं सॉल्व करवा देता हूँ। साथ साथ जैसे कि लोगों की फरियाद आती है, लोग खुद जाते हैं, कभी वो हमारे पास नहीं आते, वो डायरेक्ट कॉरपोरेशन का एएमसी का ऑफिस है वहाँ जाते हैं, वो फरियाद लिखाते हैं और वो फरियाद उनके ऑफिसर समझो तात्कालिक काम नहीं करते। जहाँ ड्रेनेज होती है 5-5, 7-7 दिन से वो प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व नहीं करते, वो फरियाद फिर हमारे पास लेके आते हैं, तो वो तात्कालिक वो ऑफिसर को बुलाकर वो हम लोग उसका काम करते हैं। इसी तरह रोड बनाने की फरियाद हो, स्ट्रीट लाइटें बंद होती है, आम पब्लिक जो डायरेक्ट ऑफिसर के पास जाती है तो उसकी बात एकदम सुनते नहीं है। अहमदाबाद के अंदर ऐसी फरियादें मेरे पास बहुत सी वक्त आती है। तो जब हमारे पास ऐसी फरियादें आती है तो मैं म्युनिसिपल कमिश्नर डीवाईएमसी और हमारे एडिशनल सिटी इंजीनियर से मिलकर उनकी फरियाद कैसे सॉल्व हो, सामान्य पब्लिक, सामान्य लोग हैं, उनकी फरियादें हम कैसे सॉल्व कर सके, उसके लिए हम लोग मशवरा करते हैं और उनको सूचना देते हैं कि सामान्य जो लोग हैं, जो आम आदमी है, आम पब्लिक है, वो शायद हमारे पास नहीं आ सकता, लेकिन आपके पास आता है तो उसकी फरियाद आपको तात्कालिक सॉल्व करनी चाहिए।
Thank you. May I ask Zubairi or Chinmay to summarize that in English, please, whoever is online.
Yeah, so Mr. Imran said that he comes from Ahmedabad, the old city of Ahmedabad. And the main problem that they face in Ahmedabad is of drainage and water. So they say that at least he gets around 200 to 300 issues per day on these lines on drainage and water. And it's only after most of the times people, what they do is they go to the corporation and they complain there. And only when their complaint is not resolved, they come to the corporator or the MLA, and then the MLA tries to convince the people, the stakeholders in the corporation to get things done. So this is generally the process that is followed.
Thank you. Now I'll come to Kyanam Rajalakshmi Madam from Hyderabad. Madam, I know that you are yet to take charge as a councillor, but you've been a citizen, you lived in the city, you ran an election campaign, and you're already on the street. So what kind of things are people coming to you with? Are they corporation related things, or they approach you for all kinds of things? What is your experience been so far?
Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much. I thank the organizers for conducting such a wonderful program today. Yeah, I have been elected on December 1st was the election, and Jan 4th, December 4th, my results were out, and from then, but then I'll be taking oath only on 11th of February. But in the meantime, because the person who is defeated, he would definitely not come out to help people. So the people start asking me for so many things, and I have been meeting colony welfare associations. Then they come up with their problems. There are umpteen number of problems, mainly because I represent 2/3 of slum. It's almost one of the biggest slums in Asia, Vinayak Nagar, that is 137 ward from Hyderabad. So there are umpteen number of problems there. The drainage is not good. There's water supply problem, and there's no proper housing. There's no proper employment. No social justice being done. And even health, the minimum things like health and education, the primary education or the primary health centers, they are also not there. There are lots and lots of problems. I have seen them while I was working as a BJP Medchal district secretary. I was given in charge of this division. So I was just coordinating with the people and also with the local people there. Then I said, this is the place where I should be actually contesting from, and maybe people need my help more there. That is how I have entered into this election fray. And luckily, it was not easy at all. It was a very tough game, rather.
Then I think for the first, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, but only advantage now, when I was in BJP, I would actually go meet people, try to go to the officials, represent my case and things like that. But now, after I have been elected as a corporator, I get things done on a phone call. That is a big advantage. Like I call the DHMC, I call HMWSS, I call the electricity department. And one thing I find here is there is not much coordination between these departments. So like, yeah, like drainage, they say is taken up by GHMC for a while. Now before the elections, yeah, it went to HMWSS. And the bore wells, they are not very sure who is supposed to maintain the bore wells, because it's just between these two departments. And because they have not paid the power bill for 2 months, now they started cutting the bore well power. And people keep coming every day in the morning. I have so many WhatsApp images of the drainage overflowing or something or the other, the manholes not properly done and things like that. As of now, I'm trying to address most of them. Yes,
this is
I'm trying my best to address most of them.
Thank you. I think you've given us so many quotable quotes within that 2 minutes. First of all, you already experienced the power of the politics, the political power. Now things happen on a phone call, you said, and you also discovered this problem we have in every city of these multiple agencies. I think sometimes the agencies themselves don't know which other agencies response for what, and I would like to hear from other politicians on this matter, because very frustrating. In Bangalore, we had an entire session on this with the corporators of Bangalore, and they all unanimously voted for all agencies to come inside the BBMP, the municipal corporation, and we all ended the webinar like that. But we know the reality may not be that. I would like to hear from other people, but this is a perfect time to bring you in, Dr. Mercy. So this multiple agencies, political power, you heard them all, right? What are your thoughts about how people perceive the role of corporators? What has been, does everything you hear today, did everything you hear today, match to what you understood as a researcher and academician, and so what's the way forward?
Yeah, I mean, much of the things that they have said aligns with our research also. That one is that people approach the corporators or the political phase because they feel that the work it's a trust that the work will get done. Instead of going through the normal process, or even after going through a normal process, if there is some kind of a political entity representing your complaint, then the work for sure will get done. The turnaround time will be quite shorter relatively. So when there is a very grave problem, at that time they do approach the corporators and the councillors for relieving themselves. And Madam Rajalakshmi, what she said is also very right, that our municipal governments and the way the organization is designed is like very obsolete. I mean, there is a dire need of professionalizing and modernizing the municipal management from the organizational point of view, wherein the services need to be integrated together. Each department should be knowing what the other department is doing, because it is a holistic thing. The efforts or the activities of one department influences the activities of other department. So and also the government has initiated the e-governance mechanisms. A lot of investment has gone into e-governance, but still people don't tap into those e-governance, mostly because of their unawareness about it, or also because they feel that when it is not a face-to-face interaction, they are not sure where the complaint is actually going, or it dies down somewhere in the the portal. Yeah, so that is why you see that we have done some bit of research on e-governance as well. So we see that even though most of the complaints can be filed online, and there is a turnaround time and there is an accountability, still people want to visit the complaint cell, the civic centers, go there, stand in the queue and do things. Because here that one-to-one connect is very much important in Indians, and they feel that, if I have met Srinivas and Srinivas Bhai is supposed to do this thing, so I can go and find out next day where is Srinivas Bhai, and then I can ask him what is the status.
You need flesh and blood. I think whatever you said reminded me of, as a student, we all used to, many of us, I guess my age group, used to stand in line for that train reservation to Delhi or wherever, in the endless lines, and now nobody does that anymore. So we need to get to that stage for civic services and certificates and things like that, where things can be done reliably. And so I think you make a great point. We'll come back to you, Dr. Mercy. This is really the key response to all the issues, right? If even the 20% that Mr. Rais Sheikh is spending dealing with some issues, if he can reduce that, he can be that much more effective as a corporator. And that's what Janagraha also works on, civic tech platforms called I Change My City, and that the job is to help with grievance redressal and understanding of city and all that. With that, I will now hand it back to Tarun.
To make one more point, Srinivas. Because you say that with our experience, we have also felt that most of the municipal systems are person driven rather than system driven. So how to make them system driven is also one of the agendas that city corporations need to take up.
Absolutely. That's the core vision of Janagraha, is to build robust city systems, and that's the reason why we're all here. Tarun, over to you for question number 2.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Srinu, and what fantastic insights from all the panelists that we've got today. So let me just quickly jump to the second question that we have. As you have seen in the data, when we had a poll with the citizens, who do you think is the most important person in your life to provide the basic services, right? And unanimously across all the cities, it was the corporator. Everybody said corporator is the most important person who would provide us the basic service, who would ensure that all of us get those basic services, right? Then my question to all the panelists is very simple, is then why is the voter turnout for city level elections, for local election, is so low compared to your state or union elections? When the corporator is the person who's going to give you all the basic requirements, all the basic needs, then why do you not show up for city level elections? And at this point, I would bring in Mr. Rais Sheikh again. Please share your thoughts. Please unmute.
So you're muted.
Yeah.
You're on mute, sir.
Could you just repeat the question? I just lost connection.
Yeah. So my point is, because our survey shows that the corporator is the most important person to ensure all the basic services, right? Your electricity, water supply, all the basic services, corporator is the man to go to, right? Then why do people not show up for city level, the corporator level elections, right? Why is the voter turnout so low for these elections compared to state and union elections?
I don't think in Mumbai that's the case. In fact, local elections, the turnout is much higher than in the case of assembly or parliament. But yes, a lot of people don't turn up for voting. I think, as you were speaking or someone was speaking, that we need to create more awareness about civic issues, and then what benefit can you get out of electing a good person or participating in the election process. Still a lot of work needs to be done on that, but as I have seen over the years in Mumbai especially, participation has increased, voter percentages have improved, and there's a lot of fault in the electoral voting list also. Like when I represent a lot of area where there is migrant population. So always there is this 10 to 20% migrating population in city of Mumbai. But yes, over the years, I think a lot of participation is increased, and city of Mumbai is increasingly going towards, better voting percentages.
Right. Thank you so much, sir. But see, what our data actually suggests is that about 16 to 17% less voter turnout that we've noticed in municipal elections. Probably Mumbai would be an exception, but we've seen across the cities that the voter turnout for city elections or the local elections is much lower, right? So let me just quickly bring in Rajalakshmi Garu. The GHMC election, which happened very, very recently, ma'am, again, the voter turnout was 46%. Whereas the Telangana state elections, when they attract a voter turnout of 65%, 68%, right? You, the corporators, are the most important person. Then why people are not coming out of their houses to vote for corporate elections? What are your thoughts on that, ma'am?
I think there are a couple of points here. One is like I'm a newly elected corporator. I understand that there was lots of, they were very furious. People were very furious about the corporators working, the previous corporators working. They say only when you have elections, you come and ask us for votes. And when I went for campaign, this was a big complaint. They say, you come now and ask us to vote, but then afterwards we will never get to see you. That is their previous experience. So that's one thing. And for even minimum civic amenities, they are still struggling. They are struggling for daily water. They're struggling with drainage. So they think these people are not doing much. That is another reason. And also recently when I went for election, it was we had floods in Hyderabad. And there was lots of mismanagement of funds from the government. They were unable to, they said they would give 10,000 for the affected houses. And that was all a real big problem. They could not give everybody that 10,000 who were affected. Some people got 7,000, some got 10,000, some were not given at all. So they were all very furious about it. I think that was one reason. And one main reason was I have to blame even the Election Commission for this. So many votes, like previously the permanent houses, people would be living there in their permanent houses for years together, and suddenly their vote doesn't appear in the election voter list. And one more thing is, like, from one house, like the votes are split to some 2 or 3 different polling stations, and the residence is in one place and the polling booth is very far from their house. I do not know how they have done their geotagging or whatever it is. With the improvement of technology, we expect better management of this, which didn't happen in Hyderabad. I remember on the election day, by afternoon, the voting percentage was only 22 or 23%. And then we realized how come it is so low. Then I told my people, I told everybody at the booth levels, I said, you please look, check the voter list and you go fetch the people. Like, I know there were senior citizens who could not travel the distance and vote in that booth. So they had taken autos and they traveled to other places. Our people helped people to go and vote. That was the situation. So maybe all these things come into play when it comes to
fantastic points, ma'am. Fantastic point. I think there's a trust deficit. There is always an issue of voter list, issues with voter list. Janagara has already been researching on this for a very, very long time. The errors in the voter list, we already have published a lot of reports on that we say that the urban voter list particularly are riddled with errors, which is actually leading to a lot of people who are willing to vote are not able to vote. At this time, I would just like to bring Mr. Imran. Imran ji, agar aap sun pa rahe hain mujhe? Hello? Okay. So let me bring Arun ji. Arun ji, agar aap, मैं आपको हिंदी में थोड़ा ट्रांसलेट करके बताता हूँ कि हमारा जो सर्वे बता रहा है अरुण जी कि कॉर्पोरेटर आपकी रोजमर्रा की जरूरतों के लिए सबसे जरूरी इंसान है। और जब कॉर्पोरेटर लेवल के इलेक्शन होते हैं तो लोग उसको वोट देने क्यों नहीं आते हैं, जबकि एमएलए इलेक्शन में और एमपी इलेक्शन में लोग बाहर आते हैं वोट देने के लिए, टर्नआउट ज्यादा होता है, पर कॉर्पोरेटर के इलेक्शन में वोटर टर्नआउट इतना कम क्यों होता है? आपका एक्सपीरियंस क्या बताता है इसके बारे में अरुण जी?
मुझे क्या लगता है, वोटर जो है ना, हेलो,
हाँ जी बोलिए।
वोटर्स जो है वो मुझे लगता है श्रूड है, कॉन्शियस है, उसको सब पता है। लेकिन कैसा है कि लेकिन जैसे मेरी कॉन्स्टिट्यूंसी नहीं मुंबई में, जहाँ स्लम्स, मिडिल क्लास, हायर मिडिल क्लास, अलग अलग पॉपुलेशन होता है एक वार्ड में। एक वार्ड में ऐसा नहीं होता 100% स्लम्स है या 100%, एंड अलग अलग इश्यूज होते हैं। तो मिडिल क्लास, हायर मिडिल क्लास की दृष्टि से उनकी जो समस्या है रोज की, जैसे किसी ने कहा फुटपाथ है, सेफ वाटर है, primary education, health, that is not their issues. They can access from the outside, जो बड़े हॉस्पिटल्स है वगैरह। इसलिए उनके दृष्टि से, क्योंकि लेकिन वोटर जो है हमारा बहुत होशियार है, श्रूड है। मैं पुराना एग्जांपल आपको देना चाहता हूँ कि इमरजेंसी में जब इंदिरा गांधी ने इलेक्शन लिया, इमरजेंसी थी, वर्ल्ड में पहली बार डिक्टेटर बैलेट से गया है। तो वोटर्स में सूझबूझ नहीं है, वोटर में समझ नहीं है, वो वोट नहीं करता, वो इश्यूज देखकर वोट करता है, परसेप्शन देखकर वोट करता है।
अच्छा,
एमएलए जो एफ्लुएंट क्लास है, हायर मिडिल क्लास है, रीच है, उनको काउंसिलर की बहुत आवश्यकता लगती है। काउंसिलर की जो आवश्यकता है ना, जो अनप्रिविलेज है, जो जिसको बेसिकली जिसका फंडामेंटल, जिसको राइट है कि उसको अच्छी हेल्थ मिले, उसको हॉस्पिटल में एडमिशन हो, मुझे लगता है वो हो। जैसे मैंने कोविड के समय भी देखा ना, कोविड का कैसा था, आया था पासपोर्ट से लेकिन गया आधार कार्ड लेकर। गरीब आदमी की समस्या ज्यादा हुई। मुझे लगता है
बिल्कुल।
हमने परसेंटेज निकालते समय हम वी टेक ऑफ इंटायर पॉपुलेशन, यदि इस प्रकार से अलग अलग स्टेटा के अलग अलग इसका परसेंटेज निकाला तो विल फाइंड कि वोटर उसकी आवश्यकता अनुसार वोट कर रहा है। लेकिन वो इसलिए नहीं कर रहा, जैसे असेंबली में शायद मलबार हिल का वोटर निकलेगा नहीं, न्यू चौपाटी का निकलेगा नहीं, लेकिन वो शायद पार्लियामेंट के समय निकल सकता है, विधानसभा और इश्यूज को लेकर निकलेगा।
बिल्कुल सही बोला अरुण जी आपने।
इश्यूज को लेकर ही वो आदमी वोट करता है।
बिल्कुल सही। आई थिंक वो इश्यूज के बारे में ही होता है।
हाँ,
इस पर
दूसरा मुझे क्या लग रहा है, जब तक हम ये जो अर्बन गवर्नेंस की और ये जो बात कर रहे हैं ना, इसमें प्रोफेशनलिज्म, टेक्नोलॉजी सब कुछ है, लेकिन जब तक वो जो 74 अमेंडमेंट थी, जब तक ये ऑटोनॉमस नहीं बनेंगे ना, तो वी हैव टू फेस मल्टीपल एजेंसीज।
करेक्ट।
इसलिए एक कोई भी एक इशू, मैंने बताऊं मुंबई हॉकर्स का इशू है। हॉकर्स का इशू मुंबई का इतना पुराना है, इतनी टाटा ने सर्वे किया, जब तिनेकर कमिश्नर थे ना, तो उन्होंने अलग अलग गार्बेज डिस्पोजल चार्जेस करके कॉर्पोरेशन का रेवेन्यू भी बनाया था। लेकिन आज तक हाईकोर्ट की कमेटी आकर गई, स्ट्रीट वेंडर्स एक्ट पास हुआ पार्लियामेंट में, लेकिन आज तक हम इसका सोल्यूशन नहीं ढूंढ पाए।
करेक्ट।
वी शुड फाइंड आउट द सॉल्यूशंस फर्स्ट।
Absolutely. So this is exactly
कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट होने के कारण, अलग अलग समाज के, इसके कारण भी वोटर टर्नआउट कम होता है, ऐसा मेरा अपना मानना है।
बिल्कुल सही सर, बिल्कुल। आई थिंक दैट्स अ फैसिनेटिंग पॉइंट्स दैट यू जस्ट मेड। इसमें मैं इमरान जी को लेना चाहूंगा। इमरान जी, अगर आप सुन पा रहे हैं मेरे को। इमरान जी, जो हमारा डेटा बता रहा है, द डेटा इज शोइंग कि कॉर्पोरेटर जो है आपका, वो सबसे जरूरी इंसान है आपकी जिंदगी में, जो आपकी रोजमर्रा की जरूरतें हैं उसके लिए। और जब कॉर्पोरेटर इलेक्शंस की बात आती है तो लोग अपने घर से वोट देने नहीं आते हैं, जबकि एमएलए और यूनियन इलेक्शंस में वोटर टर्नआउट बहुत ज्यादा रहता है कॉर्पोरेटर इलेक्शन के कंपैरिजन में। व्हाई इज दैट? आपको ऐसा क्यों लगता है? कॉर्पोरेटर इलेक्शन में लोग वोट क्यों नहीं आते?
नहीं, हमारे वहाँ ऐसा नहीं है। हमारे वहाँ जो म्युनिसिपल काउंसिलर के इलेक्शन होते हैं, जो स्थानिक निकाय के जो चुनाव होते हैं, उसके अंदर कॉर्पोरेटर जैसे जो विस्तार से रहता है उससे लोग जुड़े हुए होते हैं, तो वो कोई भी पार्टी से लड़ता हो, तो अगर जो लोकल जमीन से जुड़ा हुआ व्यक्ति है तो उसके साथ लोग जुड़ते हैं और अच्छी तरह से वोटिंग होता है। हमारे यहाँ, हमारे जो मेरे कॉर्पोरेशन के विस्तार के अंदर, मैं जब जमालपुर का कॉर्पोरेटर के लिए मैंने जब चुनाव लड़ा था, तो यहाँ पर 70% 80% लोगों ने वोट किया और सबसे ज्यादा वोट से मैं इलेक्शन जीत के आया। तो ये बात है कि ऐसे नहीं है कि भाई कॉर्पोरेटर इलेक्शन लड़ता है तो उसको वोट लोग डालने के लिए कम निकलते हैं और एमएलए के इलेक्शन में ज्यादा निकलते हैं। यहाँ हमारे विस्तारों में ये बात नहीं है। यहाँ लोग चेहरा पहचानते हैं, ये चेहरा हमारे लिए काम करने वाला है, ये व्यक्ति हमारे लिए दिन रात खड़े रहता है। तो अगर कॉर्पोरेशन का इलेक्शन हो लड़े या एमएलए का इलेक्शन लड़े, उसके अंदर वही पब्लिक होती है, वही वोटर्स होते हैं, वो लोग बाहर निकल के हमारे लिए वोट करते होते हैं। खास करके हमारे ये जो अहमदाबाद सिटी के ओल्ड सिटी के अंदर तो ज्यादातर ये कोर्ट विस्तारों में ज्यादा समस्या है। बाकी हमारे ये पश्चिम विस्तार है, न्यू पश्चिम विस्तार है, वहां पर तो कॉर्पोरेटर या एमएलए जो लोग रहते हैं उनका कोई काम ही नहीं होता, वो बिल्कुल फ्री रहते हैं। लेकिन यहाँ पर हमारे लिए 24 घंटे हम लोग ऑफिस खोल के रखते हैं, अलग अलग जगहों पे हमने ऑफिस खोल के रखा है। यहाँ पर दिन रात पब्लिक आती है, जैसे कोई आधार कार्ड के लिए, इलेक्शन कार्ड के लिए आते हैं, रेशन कार्ड के लिए आते हैं, माँ कार्ड के लिए आते हैं, आयुष्मान कार्ड के लिए आते हैं, उसकी जो रोज बरोज की समस्या है, ड्रेनेज है, पानी है, रोड है, रास्ते हैं, उसके लिए आते हैं। और खास करके हमारे पास जो समस्याएं आती है वो फिर बजट की बात आती है कि भाई बजट एमएलए का जो मिलता है, वो कॉर्पोरेटर का जो बजट मिलता है, वो कामगिरी हम लोगों के बीच में जाके बताते हैं कि भाई हमारा ये बजट है, आपके लिए आपके विस्तार में क्या समस्या है, आपको रोड की जरूरत है, आपको आरसीसी के रोड की जरूरत है। वो हम लोगों के बीच में बातचीत करने के बाद वहाँ स्थानिक लोगों से मिलके वो काम हम करवाते रहते हैं।
बिल्कुल
लेकिन
बिल्कुल।
और आगे भी हम लोग को यही कहते हैं कि कॉर्पोरेटर का काम क्या है और एमएलए का काम क्या है। यहाँ भी अभी भी लोग हजू समझते नहीं है। जो हमारे पास जो काम आते हैं, मैं एमएलए भी हूँ और कॉर्पोरेटर भी हूँ, मेरे पास वही काम आते हैं कि भाई मैं ड्रेनेज का काम करता हूँ, रोड के काम करता हूँ, पानी के काम करता हूँ। लेकिन एमएलए का काम स्टेट लेवल का काम होता है, उसके अंदर सरकार की योजना बनाने का काम होता है। लेकिन फिर भी हम तो कोई भी काम लेके आता है उसका काम हम कर ही देते हैं।
बिल्कुल फैसिनेटिंग इमरान जी, बहुत ही बढ़िया पॉइंट आपने दिया। आई थिंक दिस इज एग्जैक्टली द क्रक्स ऑफ इट, दैट पीपल रियली डोंट नो the responsibilities between what a corporator and what is the responsibility of an MLA.
And we got lucky, we picked two guys that are both simultaneously corporators and
exactly, and MLAs as well. So this is brilliant. I think what Rais sir said, I think this is exactly what he said. And so this is the best time. Let's bring in Mercy. Mercy, you're sitting here as a citizen now. Okay, now if as a citizen, what do you think? Why citizens are not coming out to vote for corporator level elections compared to the union and state level elections? What are your thoughts on that, Mercy?
As a citizen, I feel that when it comes to the union and state level elections, there is a fever of elections. You know, there is a strong campaign. There is an agenda for, to go out and, cast our vote. And the parties or the candidates, they have a vision and they have something to bring around. There is some change element that is there when it comes to the union and the elections. But when it comes to the local council elections, somehow that agenda is missing. It is more a sort of a routine work, that as Imran ji said, that is able to help with all the routine work of the city and the functions, the basic functions and services of a city. Then okay, we'll go out and vote for this guy. So that kind of a vision for a city is missing when a local election happens and the candidates are not able to put forward that kind of a vision. So that is no motivation for people to go out and vote for, and it doesn't knocks our mind and doesn't knocks our head ki, I want this thing, I want this change to happen, I want this new thing in my city. So and this is the guy who is going to make it happen. So let us go out and support. Then the other thing is that because people voting is also a matter of time and taking time out, and then also people feel that okay, one vote of mine, I mean, what difference it is going to make to the election outcomes. And when it is a collective action, it becomes a classical problem of collective action when people think, well, how is my vote going to count? And many people, when they think simultaneously, they don't go out and vote. And mainly because it is also because that social capital is not created. So people don't know what our local politicians are doing for their city, for the betterment of the people of their city at the very local grassroots level. They don't get to know this very frequently the way they know about the national politics, the way they know about city politics, state politics. So that kind of a push is missing from the local level, and that is why people like us, we take it for granted that and what it is, okay, it is daily routine work, by hook or crook we will get it done. So that is the mentality that citizens carry at the back of their mind.
No, absolutely, Mercy. I think you just nailed the point. And so the point, I think I was really, really hopeful because the recent Hyderabad elections which just happened, it was the most media charged, the campaign, most politically charged elections. But again, when the voter turnout figures came out, I was again very disappointed, only 46%, right? So I think we have a long way to go. People have to connect with city issues. People have to really talk about city issues. This is exactly the non-voting political participation is all about. So over to you, Srinivas. I think we got really fascinating insight on this aspect as well.
I know. I can see so many books being written based on this one webinar. Thank you, Dr. Mercy. You really summarized it superbly. I think we all need to work on getting some election fever happening for all the local elections. Maybe not exactly the kind of one we saw in Hyderabad, but in a more visionary fever that needs to happen. So let me, this is the last part of the panel discussion, but just to make it more interesting for all of you, we are going to run a small poll. We are talking about elections. Why not have an election right now, right here, with everyone that's participating? So I'll ask my friend Vishwa, who's organizing this Zoom conference, to put up the poll. All of you will be able to take the poll and we'll all see the results, and then we'll talk about the results of that poll. So Vishwa. Okay, now you see the poll on your screen. You can answer. You have a few seconds to answer. Everybody in the audience can answer. The panelists cannot answer this. So far we are getting 10 answers. All right, numbers are going up. According to your perception in your city, how many citizens would know the difference between the roles and responsibilities of a corporator and a legislator? Do they know what is MLA's job versus what's the job of a corporator? Imran ji, I think, has referred to this, right? So people don't know, they come to me, but I'm both. So my job is easy. But what if he was MLA? Will he say, this is the job of corporators, so don't come to me? Or will he say, you came to me, so let me work on it? So this is the question that we want to ask. And look at the responses. We have, polling is now closed. I'm sorry, many people didn't seem to have responded, Vishwa. But anyway, in the interest of time, let's move on. And it's 93% of the people think that very few would know the difference between MLA and corporator. It's little worse than what I imagined. I was thinking 80% would know, but anyway, we are dealing with a smaller sample size here. So now let me put the question to my panelists. So why is it that people don't know the difference between MLA and corporator? Isn't it very unhealthy for our democracy? Because MLAs are supposed to be, I think Imran has very clearly articulated their, what did he say? He said the MLA's job is to make state level policies.
Exactly.
And the corporator's job is to run the water and garbage and all of that. And how come people don't know the difference? And how come MLAs also don't seem to play the role of MLA, but seem to play, and I often joke with MLAs that I know, that every MLA and MP also wants to be a super corporator. This is a phenomena that we see in big cities rather than smaller towns. So I'll come to you, Rajalakshmi Garu, first. Why is this happening? What can be done about it? What can we do to create the understanding, awareness among people that the role of corporator is this, the role of MLA is this? Both are elected representatives. Both are very important politicians in our democratic setup. No one is bigger or smaller. These are all. It's not like MLA is smaller than MP or corporator is smaller than MLA. But that's kind of a thinking that we have with this. So, what do you think about it? And what can we do?
I basically think like local body representatives should be given more autonomy. I think which is not happening in most of the places. And also another point is maybe the MLAs think that they should be more closer to people, so that next time when they actually fight election, people recognize them. I do not know, like I see most of the MLAs actually breaking coconuts when the road has to be started, when just a small, it's again a correction, like you're just doing one pipeline, which is a regular thing. But I do not understand why they have to come and inaugurate those things. It's such a waste of time. I really don't understand this. Some people are doing it. Okay. Maybe all MLAs may not be doing it, but I see lots of people inaugurating such small things also.
Very important
I really
point.
don't understand, but maybe more autonomy to local body representatives is a must, I guess.
Right, Rais Bhai, I want to come to you with a very special question. I am very thrilled to read that you have demanded that corporators to be paid a salary of 50,000 rupees and not 10,000 rupees. I always argued that the salary of a corporator is too low, and that itself is the biggest problem of the right people entering the municipal elections. And therefore, when they become corporators also, they have to, for the lack of better term, return on the investment that they made during elections. Increasing the salary of a corporator is an important part of raising the profile of the elected representative local politician. Since you worked on it, maybe you can talk about why you did that, and talk about, now that you're also an MLA, speak about this difference between MLA and corporate. We're very eager to hear your views on this.
There are two things. See, first of all, the entry point in politics has been made very difficult because if you're not paid well, why will someone who's a professional would leave his job and come into politics and work as a public representative? Look at United States. Public service through representation is one of the highest paid jobs there. Number one. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Could you hear me?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
So we have to make it very professional. Suppose if I want to enter politics and come and become a councillor, at least pay me, for my expenses. Somebody just asked me that when I was saying that my staff takes care of all the paperwork for Aadhaar card, etc. Somebody was asking me, how do I pay them? It's a valid question. If you want to function as an efficient councillor, you have expenses. So I think the government and the system should pay well to their councillors or MLAs so that they function efficiently. That is my point.
And the reason for demanding higher salary, what is your views on the salary?
I have seen in my council, when I became a councillor, I was fortunate that I was in business and I was a very successful professional. I saw councillors traveling in train. I saw councillors struggling with their basic expenses. So that's the reason when I became councillor, the salary was 10,000 rupees. I was paying my driver more than what the councillor was getting. And trust me on this, the councillor's job is, most of them will agree on the panel, is a 24/7 job. You cannot take up any other occupation if you're a councillor, because it's time consuming. You have to dedicate your entire day. In fact, it's a 24-hour job. People come to my residence because there's a Nair hospital next to my house at 4 a.m., at 6 a.m. in the morning if they have an emergency. So if you want to make entry point into politics open to more professionals, you need to assure them. For a young person who wants to come into politics, when you come into politics, जब आप politics में आओगे तो आपको अपने घर खर्च के लिए करप्शन करने की जरूरत नहीं है. आपको सिस्टम पे करेगा. ये रियलिस्टिक है. इंडिया में ये हिपोक्रेसी है कि हम कहते हैं कि लोक प्रतिनिधि को, अगर पब्लिक रिप्रेजेंटेटिव को अगर हमने अच्छी सैलरी दी तो लोगों बहुत सारा आउटक्राई होता है. That is not right. I think they are professionals. It's a very professional job. Trust me, today's public service or public representation no more is, for someone who doesn't know the job. It is a professional job now. And one question that you asked, I'm very keen on answering that. Why is that MLAs try to do corporators' job? I'll tell you why. Because the party whip doesn't allow an MLA to express his independent opinion on a law or on macro issues. That's why the MLA's job in an assembly is very restricted to raising hands as per what the party whip or the party leader wants. That's why try to enter into corporator's job and try to do those things and stay alive among people. We need more independence as far as public representation is concerned. We need bipartisan politics in India so that even public representatives express more, independently.
Absolutely. The party whip system has taken away the autonomous nature of a legislator's job, and most bills are passed without discussion, just by voice vote. Exactly. There is no real debate on the legislation.
10 or 20 people govern the entire house.
I think the anti-defection law has done more damage than good by creating the party whip system. It is my personal opinion, I must add, that the whip system should only be restricted to things like finance bills and defection, and not on every other legislation that we make. In the interest of time, I'm looking at the clock. Let's jump right into the question answers, Tarun. I see a lot of questions. So why don't I go to Mr. Dr. Kedar Diwan. He's joining us from Mumbai. Kedarji, are you there? You can ask your question. You have a question for Mr. Arun Dev. So please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Mr. Arun Devji, sir, the ward committees in Mumbai, I wanted to have your opinion whether a corporator is able to effectively use the platform of a ward committee to perform his duties. Thank you.
नहीं, ये वार्ड कमेटी है तुम्हारी. वार्ड कमेटी बेसिकली जो फॉर्म हुई है वो ऑटोनॉमस कमिटीज है, जैसे स्टैंडिंग कमेटी है, बीएसटी है, सब कुछ. लेकिन उसमें हुआ क्या है, वार्ड कमिटीज में पहले हम एनजीओ को भी इंक्लूड करते थे. अभी शायद मुझे लगता है एनजीओ भी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी का आ जाता है. और वार्ड अध्यक्ष, प्रभाग समिति का अध्यक्ष और असिस्टेंट कमिश्नर, इनका सेक्रेटरी है. तो उसका जो फंक्शनिंग है ना, उसको वार्ड लेवल प्लानिंग से जोड़ना पड़ेगा. इफ दैट इज नॉट देयर, देन वार्ड कमिटी फंक्शनिंग विल नॉट बी ए प्रॉपर. वार्ड कमिटी का फंक्शनिंग बेसिक तभी अच्छा होगा कि वार्ड दैट प्रभाग समिति शुड हियर पब्लिक ग्रीवेंस है, उसको ठीक तरह से ये करे, उसको स्ट्रीमलाइन करे. उनके जो बजट्स, सिटी बजट में वार्ड कमेटी का इन्वॉल्वमेंट हो, वो हो नहीं रहा और इसके कारण प्रॉब्लम्स आ रहे हैं.
Great. Let me see.
The Election Commission for Council Elections. Yes.
Okay. This is open season Q&A. Tarun, I invite you to look at the Q&A and pick questions. I'll go to, let me see here. Chitresh Srivastava, you there, sir? Please go ahead. And please address your question to a panelist. So anyone can answer, but if you want a particular person to answer, you take the name, or anyone can answer.
Yeah, Chitresh, you can just unmute yourself and you can ask your question to a particular panelist that you want to address this to.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much. But I would like to ask the question to all panelists present. My question is that is there a need that the bureaucrats who are responsible for solving the issues of the common citizens, who are responsible for various corporations and various works that were highlighted in the talk, they should first realize that they are working for the larger concern and stop passing the buck of responsibility from one person to another, so that the work that needs to be on a priority basis does not get stalled. And further, question that I wanted to add is there a need for a more proactive engagement of the people concerned by listening carefully to the grievances of the affected people, and at the same time also work on how do they respond in terms of the tone. Sometimes we do see that often a very harsh tone that is used, due to which people are a little hesitant to approach the concerned people. So is there a need to work on all these fronts so that we can make it more inclusive and more realistic?
Please keep the questions short. We have about 5 minutes, so the more shorter we have, we can get more questions in. Anyone wants to answer that? Dr. Mercy?
Hello.
You heard the question? Yeah.
Dr. Mercy,
would you like to answer?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can take that. So yes, Chitresh, what you said is right, that the bureaucrats should be more responsible instead of passing the buck. But the problem is that the bureaucrats or the commissioners who are appointed, they are state appointees, and they are there for a very small duration of time. So they also just want to highlight the work that the state government wants to do through the standing committees of the council. So their more focus and attention is towards that, because after 3 years or 5 years, they have to move out, and they have to move out to a better, a better profile, a better portfolio that needs to be given to them. So there is a very limited amount of ownership that a municipal commissioner as a IAS officer has. So we always say that there needs to be a cadre of professionals below the municipal commissioner, like a city manager, who can be appointed by the council and who would be answerable to the commissioner and the council at the same time. So just like how chief secretaries and principal secretaries in the state government are answerable to the chief minister. So similarly, more powerful mayor and the executive wing answerable to the mayor would to a very big extent solve this particular problem of passing the buck.
Great, great. Thank you. Thank you. I have Kishore Malladi from Hyderabad and also Dinesh Solanki. Both of you, please put your question forward quickly, as short as possible. Then I will go to the, and if you want a specific panelist, then mention the name.
Yeah, this is, anyone can take. This is Kishore from Hyderabad. We have budget planning at state level, national level. Why are we not focusing budget planning at constituency level or division level? So it will be very important, because if there are any important issues, then we can allocate that budget to those issues which can really, why we are not concentrating on that. Anyone can answer this. Yes.
Okay, Dinesh, Mr. Dinesh Solanki, let me get that question also in, then we go to the answers. Dinesh, you have a question? Okay, all right. So let me go to Imran ji and Rais ji for this question that Kishore is asking. Why can't we do budgeting at a local level, at a city and a ward level? Since you are both MLAs and corporators, I think this question is more appropriate for you.
Srinivas, I think this is my favorite subject. We need micro plans. I always say this, and we have implemented this in Mumbai Municipal Corporation. Each councillor, when he is or she is elected, should present a 5-year roadmap map for the ward. And we need micro budgets. We need budgets specific to a local area. Each area has unique issues. So I think for better utilization of taxpayers' money, we should have localized smaller budgets. I fully agree to Mr. Kishore, and you will see in the next few years in Municipal Corporation of Mumbai that we'll have micro plans, we'll have smaller budgets. That is the theme of the budget this year that the BMC is going to present.
That's wonderful. This is an appropriate point for me to mention on behalf of Janagraha that for the past 5 years in Bengaluru, at least, we have been running a campaign called My City, My Budget. The whole idea is participatory budgeting, where citizens give input to the city budget. Unlike the union budget and the state budget, we can hardly call up the finance minister and say what we want in the budget, whether at the country level or at the state level, but very much we can do that at a city level. We should be able to say, we need a park, we need to fix the footpath and things like that. This is exactly the spirit behind this campaign, very unique campaign called My City, My Budget. We're very happy to share with all of you that just recently we concluded this in Bangalore, and 9,700 citizens have participated in making of the budget. This is only possible because the municipal corporation wanted to do it. And at the moment, some of my colleagues that are also on this call, Sapna and HL and others, are working very closely with the municipal corporation to convert the citizen input into the line item of the budget. And now I think this is really a fantastic way of micro planning, like Mr. Rais has just said. And we are taking this campaign to many other cities, and someday, hopefully soon, to Mumbai too, as we have a lot of people that are joining us Mumbai. And when you say these things like this, it's music to our ears. Mr. Sheikh, that the micro planning at a ward level is going to take shape. One last question, Tarun, did you pick any question? Did you have any question?
Yeah, so I think we have a question from Padmaji, which is most of the educated. Padmaji, can you are you there?
Yeah. Hello,
Padmaji,
good morning all.
Go ahead.
See, what I feel that when you look into the census of the voting, whether it is a corporator, MLA or MP, it will be only hardly 40 to 50%. What I feel that most of the educated people know, when the election day, they take one more day previous or the post as a holiday and they go to resorts. So this is very bad attitude of the educated people. So I feel that they should make very compulsory. It will not happen. It has to be in central, they have to cancel if they don't vote for 3 or 4 successive years. They should cancel all their privileges. So in this way, we can ensure that the educated people will make compulsory. They should come and vote for the right people. So in this way, I think we can go ahead in other activities. So okay, just my suggestion.
Thank you. It's a very good suggestion. Thank you. I think we can run an entire program on this.
Exactly. So let's have a last question from Sumit, because Sumit is there and he's waiting and he's been messaging me. Sumit, go ahead. If you can just ask your question.
Hi, thanks, Tarun. Wonderful webinar so far. It's been really education. So my question is actually stemming from what Dr. Mercy said, that the state elections are run in a different way and the corporation elections are run in a different way. So my question actually runs to the two esteemed panelists here who are corporators as well as the MLAs now. So what do you think and how do you basically run the elections? Is your agenda different when you are running an MLA ticket and when you are running in a councillor ticket? So what is your agendas and how different they are? And do you really think the people understand your agendas in a different way when you are running a councillor election or you are running MLA election? And if not, then how do you make them educated about that? If you are a councillor, you will do this. If you are an MLA, you will do this. And how do you really educate the voter base in your area?
Okay. Who did you address the question to?
Mr. Reyes, would you like to answer?
Yes. See, the agendas are completely different. When I contested both of my corporation elections, it was 100% civic issues. But when I came and I contested as an MLA, then the state issues, especially a little more sentimental issues, because I'm a socialist. So when we talk to the state or we talk to a larger constituency, we speak about 50% development and 50% of identity issues or issues concerning your ideology. Like in the state, we were fighting the Bharatiya Janata Party. So obviously, when I was contesting as an MLA, I was fighting with my ideology. I was putting forth my view on secularism or my view on those other issues that govern the state. But then now, as an MLA, I also tried to bring in specific issues like women's right or issues like which are for the larger audience. We do have civic issues, but then as an MLA, we speak more about general education. We speak about crime rate, policing aspect. We speak about intercity connectivity, those larger macro issues. But when I contested civic polls, it was very localized. We had a plan. We had presented a vision for the constituency.
Okay, thank you very much. This is really a big, very interesting topic, Sumit, that you brought up. Perhaps an entire event can be done on that. Tarun, with that, we are actually exceeded the time by 4 minutes, but yes. I just want to give a last word to Mr. Arun and Ms. Rajalakshmi to share their final thoughts. 30 seconds each, please, and then Sandhya for the vote of thanks so we can close it formally. Rajalakshmi Garu and then Mr. Arun.
I really thank all the panelists and also the organizers for conducting such a wonderful webinar. It goes a long way, I guess. Definitely, it's educative to me also, especially to interact with the corporator come MLAs. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Arunji.
Thanks, मुझे लगता it is a good this thing. और इसमें ऐसा है कि डेमोक्रेसी अपनी वाइब्रेंट होने के कारण we have to talk, we have to this thing, and then we will find out the solutions. Because एक ही इसमें solution है ऐसा लग नहीं रहा, क्योंकि जैसा उन्होंने कहा ना रईस भाई ने, अभी कि एमएलए का इलेक्शन अलग है, मुझे लगता है एमएलए का इलेक्शन भी सिविक इलेक्शन जैसा ही होता है. हम जब कहते हैं ना कि डेटम लाइन स्लम्स की जब बढ़ाते हैं 2019 कर देते हैं, तो 19 करते हैं तो दो इट इज अ स्टेट सब्जेक्ट, बट वी टेक इट इन स्टेट इलेक्शन एज वेल एज कॉर्पोरेशन इलेक्शन. मुझे लगता है बेसिक जो है ना स्टिल मिनिमम अमेनिटीज, जैसे मुंबई कॉर्पोरेशन का जो बजट है मुझे लगता है वो गोवा, उत्तरांचल वगैरह गवर्नमेंट से ज्यादा है, और इसमें बहुत बार माइक्रो बजटिंग भी हो रहा है, बट दैट शुड बी पब्लिसिटी, उसकी पब्लिसिटी प्रॉपर देने की आवश्यकता है. एंड सिटीजन का पार्टिसिपेशन बढ़ा है, तो सिटीजन सनद जिसको कहते हैं ना, सिटीजन राइट्स, उसको जितना ज्यादा अधिकार देंगे ना एंड ऑटोनोमस करेंगे, तो आई थिंक थिंग्स विल बी मोर. आज के इसमें कैसा है, काउंसिलर जो है ना अर्बन डेवलपमेंट का बॉन्डेड लेबर लग रहा है, उससे ज्यादा उसको कोई वैल्यू नहीं.
It's a very strong statement. In the interest of time, I'm not coming to the other panelists, but I hope we heard from all of you. We really appreciate you coming, and I would now request
Thank you very
Sandhya to present the vote of thanks. But before that, I also request everyone on this call to turn on their cameras and videos and smile for the picture. Yes, we do take a group picture with everyone, even on Zoom. So please turn on your cameras and put on a big smile because somebody is making your picture. And Sandhya, over to you.
The 8 City Politics webinar not just gave us answers to our queries, but we have learned new insights thanks to our eminent panelists, Mr. Rai Sheikh, Ms. Kyanam Rajalakshmi, Ms. Mercy Samuel, Mr. Imran Kedawala, and Mr. Arun Dio. Thank you, dear panelists, for sharing your experiences with us. Thank you all for being present here today, making this conversation an interesting one. Please join our City Politics page. Follow us on Janagraha Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn for the updates on the upcoming City Politics webinars. Thank you all. Please pose for the group picture.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
And many thanks to the people behind the scenes, Vishwa, Pratima, Zuveria, Sandhya, everyone that worked to make this event success. Thank you very much for all your hard work. Thank you all the panelists for taking your busy schedule. We hope this discussion was useful for you, and we hope you come back for more. And we have certainly learned a lot on real life politics today. It is fascinating for ordinary citizens to interact with politicians from different states and different backgrounds. And I think all of us have collectively increased our enlightenment. And last word to you, Taran.
Fascinating. I think this City Politics has served its purpose. We got the esteemed panelists where they talked about local issues. They talked about how they practically deal with political issues and how they actually implement those. I think it has been a very enlightening session for me, and I'm sure for everybody who has joined today. So I really thank you. And over to you, Srinivas. I'm really lucky to have these panelists today and really learn from them. Thank you.
If we do one more over to each other, everybody will kill us now. But that's it. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Have a good time, and thank you so much for joining. And let's hope to connect with you again. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Yes.